Okay, guys, well, I'll go ahead and get started. First of all, if you see my picture up there, and look at my face, it's a little bit different. It's I feel kind of like, you wake up or the dream of you go to school and forget to wear your clothes. I forgot to wear my beard. It's actually the second time in about 20 some years that I've not had a beard. It's due to a mistake with the razor. And, but it's growing back. I'm a couple days back into it. Okay, so this material that I want to present, and I'm not sure where I'm looking at, you guys. If I'm looking at the audience, just look at the camera. Is that right?
Yeah, it's okay. You don't have to worry about it.
All right. Okay, guys. Well, the way I present this material is often in a 2-hour format, and I even call it the Realtor's Retirement Plan, because I have a lot of tax deferral options, and they're really divided into a couple of different categories. One category is for what we're really going to talk about today, which is deferring capital gains tax, in some cases eliminating capital gains tax. The other thing is ordinary income tax. So for realtors who are working and especially making big money, we have some tax deferral options that can really reduce your taxable income from commissions. But the way we promoted today's session, number one, it's only an hour instead of 2 hours. So I'm kind of rushing through a little bit of it here, but we're not going to go into the high commission tax deferral issues. If you want to talk about those things, give me a call. We can talk about those separately. I will barely touch on them just so you know that they're there. But what we're going to talk about today is mostly ways to help you get more listings and more sales. And that is by helping people to defer or eliminate capital gains tax. And if you look up here on the right, I said, don't let these words stop you from winning the listing or the sale. One thing I would like you to, Allison says I look longer. Thank you, Allison. Can everybody hear me okay? If anybody can't hear me well, please let me know and I will speak up or do something with my audio. So don't let these words stop you from winning a listing or a sale. I would list my house with you, but capital gains tax will be too much, right? And this is for both personal residence or investment property. I would list my house with you, but inventory is so low, I might not be able to find replacement property. That's a real legitimate reason for a 1031 exchange. Some 1031 exchanges fail. They just don't get the right property, or one reason or another, it just doesn't close. And then I would sell and buy up if my mortgage payment wouldn't go up. How many people would like to have a bigger house but their mortgage payment is going to go up? Now, this last couple of things here, these are for older people. One of the reasons I asked how old you guys are, this has to do with reverse mortgages. But I'd buy an investment property if I didn't have a mortgage payment on my present house. So we have 17 tax deferral options. We're only going to go over a few, the ones that are for capital gain. And now my thing is not changing the slides. Let's try this. Raymond, even this is not. Okay, all right. Okay, so what we're going to talk about today, how to create more listings and sales for your business by understanding these principles. Defer capital gains tax and create monthly income from the sale of highly appreciated real estate, which you break that down as 1031 exchanges, a deferred sales trust, and the opportunity zone investment. And we'll go into detail on those three. The 1031 exchange, I don't think we need to go into great detail about, because lots of people do 1031 exchange seminars. I do some just about 1031 exchanges if we want to go into a lot of depth. Then the next part is convert trapped equity and a principal residence into a stream of income or a source of investment capital without incurring monthly debt obligation, or, this is key, tax liability. And that has to do with reverse mortgages. Now, if I just said, let's talk about reverse mortgages, your mind's going to go to a completely different place than if you think about it in the context of that sentence right there. Converting trapped equity into principal residence, trapped equity, right? So we'll go into detail about that. Like I said, I generally present this in the terms of the retired real estate agent, right? But and when I do that, and I like to try to have some common ground, right? What do they tell you in public speaking? To create some common ground, maybe at the beginning, you have a little levity. And I was a film major, so I put some stuff in here at the beginning because I wanted to kind of tell you a little bit of my story because of the idea of being a retired real estate agent or somebody in the real estate business. And it's quite different, right? I mean, we have a lot more of our assets in real estate. Some people, especially now, maybe have been able to put more money in 401ks and that sort of thing. But a lot of us really depend on real estate to retire, and real estate is very cyclical. And of course, the mortgage business, which where I spend all my time, is very cyclical. So indulge me with a little bit of this. And the audio is not working. So let's skip that. And I'm going to skip all these pictures. This was done, again, if I have 2 hours, I would tell a little bit more about my upbringing. And I used to live on a sailboat. And that's not it. That's it. That's a dinghy that I used to own for my sailboat. That's my dad and my brothers. I wish the audio was working because the story that I'm telling here is why that I was not in real estate, and then I became, let's see, we're going to try something here. Raymond's going to say, try that. Let's see. Oh yeah, that worked. All right. So that was from, can anybody tell me what that movie was right there? How about you, Eric?
I have no idea what noise I just heard.
You want to hear it again? It was, that was from Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? And then this, the scene of the sirens, right? And so what I've been trying to convey here with you guys is that I was not planning on being a real estate broker or a mortgage broker, but then I met my siren, right? I met my wife, and she had, and at the time, just so you know, I was living on a sailboat and going to film school, and I did not think that I was going to end up in parent-teacher conferences so quickly. In film school, this film, let's see if anybody knows what this is. If you guys want to even put it in here, if you can recognize this movie, everybody in film school watches this movie, and this little scene right here changed my life. You ready?
Well, it's no trick to make a lot of money. All you want is to make a lot of money.
To that, it's no trick to make a lot of money if all you want is to make a lot of money. That is Citizen Kane. That's Citizen Kane's lawyer. And that's what he said. And I remember sitting in an auditorium, listening to that, thinking about, I'm going to lose this opportunity to marry this woman. And she had 2 kids. If I continue with what I'm doing, I had to make a choice, right? And so my idea was that I could go do that, be her husband and the father of these 2 little girls on the left, and then eventually get back to what I intended to be for my career. And then I had 2 more kids, and then I started spending a lot of money. I was flying airplanes and chartering sailboats and going on vacation and just having a good time. And the way I intended to retire was through my own real estate. And this is getting back to the whole realtor's retirement plan, right? You see here, these are all certificates that I have from CCIM. I don't know if anybody knows what CCIM is, Certified Commercial Investment Member. I took all of that. And I got some certifications from the Urban Land Institute because I was developing raw land. And that's how I intended to retire. And this is one of my developments right there. And then
What you're telling me is that music is about to stop.
the music is about to stop, right? And everybody who's been through this, that's again, one of the reasons I asked how old everybody was, who has been through 2008, right? And I love to tell my wife about other people who lost more money than we did, right? I lost somewhere between $3 and $4 million. I went from thinking I was going to retire in my mid-40s to being in a lot of debt. But I worked through it. I did not file bankruptcy. Everything was fine. All my investors got all their money back. And but do you know what that movie is? That is, if you could see the rest of the scene, that's True Grit, and John Wayne's laying on the ground, and he just shot him. Anyway, the thing is, I was shot to pieces, and I ended up in the hospital with amnesia. I kind of lost my mind, but it wasn't, a nervous breakdown. I had actual amnesia. It was called transient global amnesia. And the point is, it's very stressful. And to go from thinking that you're retiring to now you're not retiring, right? So thank you for indulging me on that. I did want to just, hopefully I created a little bit of common ground. All of you who've been through this time know what this is like. If you haven't, then, these options that we're going to talk about can maybe help you to make sure that doesn't happen. But okay, so here's me. I'm a mortgage broker. Been a mortgage broker for 30 years. I operate American Mortgage Management. It's my company. I also have my license with a company called C2 Financial. And the reason I have my license with C2 Financial is primarily because of their reverse mortgage division. They have a really good training program, and they're very serious about it. If I leave you guys with one thing, and we never, we don't do anything else, just remember this: if you're ever, whether you're working with me or some other mortgage lender, if you're working with one of your clients with a reverse mortgage as part of the transaction, make sure you're working with somebody who has this designation, CRMP, Certified Reverse Mortgage Professional. I have a lot of designations, professional designations. I've never failed any test until I took that test. I failed it the first time. I got it, and I passed it the second time. The reason is there's no study path for it, right? Everything else, whether it's securities, real estate, whatever, there's textbooks. You go to a class, maybe a boot camp, and hopefully you pass the test. This is not, and it's so critical that you're working with somebody who really knows what they're doing, because they're elderly people, right? In a lot of cases, you have to be at least 62 in some cases and 55 in others. But just make sure you work with CRMP, somebody who has that designation. Okay, I also have a securities license. Series 65 is my license. I have my license with this company called Equity Advisors, LLC. And our marketing arm is called defertax.com. And we're finally getting to what I really want to talk to you about. I am a tax deferral consultant. It's a title that I have. I'm a licensed fiduciary. Technically, I'm an investment advisor representative, right? And through this company, we do lots of real estate related ways to help people to save money, make money, and avoid taxes. And I do manage money. The money that I manage has been primarily from this kind of activity here, because sometimes there are some real estate related activities that require securities licenses, and sometimes the way you get paid is by managing the money. Here's something I'm going to skip, and I want to tell you, I have this designation, registered Social Security Analyst. And the reason I have that is, again, to help people with their retirement choices. People make horrible choices with their Social Security. I'm going to skip it because we are trying to fit this into an hour. But if anybody wants to talk to me about their Social Security choices, then please get in touch with me about that. All right, capital gains tax deferral strategies. The foundation, for investment property, it's 1031 exchanges, right? You can see 15% of 1031 exchanges fail. There's other statistics out there, but that one's the one that I hear mostly. So you need a backup plan. And I'm not going to go into detail about 1031 exchanges. If anybody has any questions, feel free to take yourself off mute, send me a chat, whatever you like. I'd love to have some interaction with you guys. You need a backup plan. One of the backup plans is the Delaware Statutory Trust, which I will go into detail about. Another backup plan is a qualified opportunity zone investment. And then for primary residences, and this is where I think you guys can make the most commission dollars from all of what this time we're spending together, is by understanding how to take somebody who has a principal residence that if they sold it, they're going to have a very large capital gain, and then to defer that capital gain. Kevin Peterson gave me permission to tell you guys that we worked together on one. His client, we put her in a deferred sales trust and we used a reverse mortgage to help her to keep more of her money in the trust to increase her income. Whoops, this thing. All right. Basics of a 1031 exchange. Basically, you sell a property, you buy a property. It's not that big of a deal, but if you follow the IRS guidelines, then you can defer the gain until the future, right? But you're deferring it. You're not eliminating it unless you pass away and then your property passes to your heirs and they get a step up in basis, 100% step up in basis. They don't have to pay the tax, assuming your estate isn't so large that you have to pay estate tax. Here's the tricky part is you have to identify your property within 45 days. This is why a lot of them fail. And you can either identify 3 or in some cases 6, but most people identify 3 properties, but then you really go down the path with one. While you're going down the path with that one, if something happens and you can't close that, now the other 2 are probably sold by now. You're not going to be able to get them, and now you can't identify any more property. So having what we call a Delaware statutory trust as one of your 3 properties can help you to not fail your 1031 exchange. Here's what I'm working on right now. I have 3 brothers. They inherited a property when they were, many years ago, and they have it now in contract to sell at about $5 million. They would have a huge capital gain, right? Because they have very low basis, they inherited it. And now they're in their 70s, they all want to do different things with their money. So they're all going to do something different. But you see the difference. They're saving $1,850,000 in taxes. And one way to think about it, I kind of like that. Get a 0% loan from the IRS. It's kind of what you're doing. Of course, if you pass away, pass it to your heirs, the IRS gave you that money. You don't have to pay it back. All right, so now DST. Now DST is a little bit confusing because there's 2 things that we talk about that use the same initials: Delaware Statutory Trust and Deferred Sales Trust. The Delaware Statutory Trust is a piece of commercial real estate, and you're able to buy a tiny slice of it with a whole bunch of other people. And there's a lot of advantages to it. People typically do it when they don't want to manage real estate. They want to get, they call it mailbox money, right? It's a very high quality piece of real estate. And if anybody wants to talk about capitalization rates, hopefully everybody understands that, right? The lower the cap rate, the capitalization rate, the more you're paying for that property. It means the lower your yield is going to be, your monthly payment that you're going to get from that. So these properties are very high quality and they have external management. So your actual payment is going to probably be a little bit lower, but it's super safe. It has its own risks. I don't want to say it's totally without risk. There's definitely a risk, but it has a different set of risks. And it's a place where people, when they're older, often want to put their money. So the pros, one of the things that really entice people to this as opposed to doing something else like the deferred sales trust is that the basis is rolled forward. So your heirs can get 100% step up in basis. The tax is deferred just like any other real estate purchase. I don't like this part where they say tax-free income here. My company put this slide together. The investor also receives depreciation, usually sufficient to defer all incomes paid, right? When you own investment real estate, you have some deductibility, depreciation, and other deductions, and hopefully then you don't pay income tax on the income that you're earning from it. And of course, it appreciates. We hope it appreciates. And here's the key. There's hundreds of DSTs. We have 7 companies that we work with. The owner of the registered investment advisor company that I work with is named Carl Warden. No relationship. He's got the last same spelling of last name. And one of his criteria for choosing a company to work with is that they had to exist before 2008. And the idea is that we want anybody that we work with to understand that the music can stop, right? things can turn the wrong way. And so when you're making the investment decision, working with somebody who's been through that, it provides some context. Downsides to this is well, just like anything else, the basis and the depreciation are rolled forward. A lot of times people think you buy a new, higher expensive property, that now you get to start over with your basis. That's not true. Then the income can be a little bit lower. There are some very interesting ones. There's one where we can actually get 85% of the investment back right away. It's an Amazon. Amazon is the tenant, and I don't need to go into a lot of detail about it, but if anybody's interested or knows somebody that wants to do a Delaware statutory trust or to buy a piece of real estate, right? If you just go out and buy another piece of real estate, you're going to put your money in there. You can't really get it back right away. You can do a cash out loan, but you got to also wait. Remember, I don't know if everybody knows about a step transaction rules for 1031 exchanges. You can't take the cash out just before you sell your property so that you can extract your basis, and you can't do one right afterwards, or you can, but if the IRS catches up to you, then you're going to invalidate your exchange. I was going somewhere with that, now I lost my train of thought on that. Anyway, the next thing is a deferred sales trust, and like I said earlier, I think this is an opportunity for you guys to really get a nice listing. And because if you just farm or whatever you're doing, and you look at your client base, if you know somebody who has a $2 or $3 or $4 million property, and if they sell it, they're going to pay a big capital gain. This is a way for them to be able to sell it and then maybe to move to another house. These often happen because they want to live closer to family or some other reason. The one that I did with Kevin Peterson, the daughter actually was driving the deal. She wanted her mother to move from Burlingame to Sacramento area and be close to her. Even though, now keep in mind, this daughter understood that if the mother stayed put in Burlingame and passed away eventually, that she would inherit that house. It was $2.4 million and have that full step up in basis. So it was the daughter really cost her a lot of money in her estate by doing that for her mom, but she really wanted her mom to live closer to her in a nice house in a retirement community up by Sacramento. So that was very nice. Okay, so it works like an exchange, except for it's a personal residence, and it goes into, you can't take constructive receipt, just like an exchange. The money goes into the accommodator's hand. I am an accommodator, by the way. My company, deferredtax.com, we are an exchange accommodator. And so the money goes in there, and the reason we like to handle our own accommodations so that nothing gets tangled up with the wrong title companies and this and that, the wrong accommodator. Because it is a fairly technical situation, has to have special attorneys, we have people that specialize in this so that everything goes smoothly. So anyway, it goes into the accommodator. What happens is we create the trust. The seller sells the property to the trust, basically transfers ownership to the trust. The trust then sells it to the end user, the person who's going to live in the house. Now, one way to think about that is just think if, let's say you want to sell me your house, I'm willing to buy it. I don't have any down payment. You say, okay, you trust me, and I'm going to go zero down, and I'm going to make you payments for the next 30 years. Now you own, rather than owning the house, you own a note. Right? That's what you own. You don't own the house. You also don't own the assets in the trust anymore. That's one thing that people have a little bit of a tough time coming to grips with on these deferred sales trusts. All the money goes into the trust, and in order for the IRS to not invalidate this whole trust, has to be a third party. We have to have very clear lines about who does what. And so the trustee is in charge of that money, has that money. There's usually an investor in the middle. That's me in this case. But the seller, the person who sold the house to begin with, now owns the note. And the note can be structured in a lot of different ways. And it's very interesting. And then the money that's in the trust can be invested in lots of things. It can be more real estate. It can be, stocks, bonds, annuities, whatever you like. But a lot of the other parts of it, the time frame and stuff, the 180 days, it holds true, just like a 1031 exchange. Okay, so the pros, it's a liquid cash account. You can sell the property, get your money, and now it's a cash account. Now, well, here's one thing that a lot of people don't realize. This is an analogy I like to use. Whether it's a 1031 exchange, whether you do a deferred sales trust or whatever, you take all your money from the sale of your property, and let's say it's a personal residence and you have your basis. And then on top of your basis, you have your excluded amount, the 250 or 500,000 tax-free amount. And then all of the taxable income is on top. So think of that as a big stack of $1,000 bills. You can't get to the bottom until you've already dealt with the top in most cases, right? So that's one thing. You're on a deferred sales trust. You can't take your basis or your tax-free exclusion and go spend that and put the rest of the money in the trust. It all has to go in the trust. All right, so it's very flexible. You can put it in many different kinds of investments. The cons, the direct control, there has to be a third-party trustee. And here's the big one, really. No step up in basis, right? So in this case, the one I was talking about, the daughter could have inherited that house with the full step up in basis. Now she has this funds in a trust, but when does she have to pay the capital gains? Only when she takes that money out. It could be 20 years from now, 30 years ago. It can actually go in perpetuity. The trust can be continually rolled over into new investments, so the heirs can continue to do that. If the heirs decide to do it in 20 or 30 years, then it's vastly depreciated dollars, right? The dollar 20 years from now is not the same as the dollar now. So there is really a lot of benefit to it, but the tax is still going to be due at some point. And there we go. Okay. Now let's say they don't want to do that. Now we get to the qualified opportunity zone. Now this is the only way that you can actually extract the basis and the tax-free part. This is an interesting, very different investment, because with this, you can do that. And then the remainder can go into this opportunity zone investment. The tax deferral period is not long like a deferred sales trust. It is like 5 years, about 5 years, depending on the calendar. There's a calendar that the government rolls forward each time, and but basically 5 years. And then the tax is due. So the companies that are in the business of offering these qualified opportunity zone investments, basically an opportunity zone is a geographic location where the government says if you invest here, you get particular benefits. And then so companies that want to build an apartment complex, for example, in one of these places, will structure this investment and they'll raise the capital, the debt and the equity, and through this method. So in order to entice people to do that and to not pay that tax, they'll pay it for you. They're basically loaning you the money to pay the tax after several years. Also keep in mind, these are usually construction deals, so you're not earning income right away. So then they pay the tax. If you keep it for 5 years in there, you get a 10% step up in basis. You keep it another 2 years to 7 years, you get 15%. So eventually the tax that you owed, that you put in there in the first place, now you only owe tax on 85% of that. So that's a little bit of a benefit. Then if you keep it in there for 10 years and 1 day, you still have to pay that 85% capital gain on that portion. But all of the investment, all of the income that you've earned from this thing is now tax-free. You don't have to pay any tax on it. And that can be substantial. So that really can work out well for a lot of people, particularly if they want to extract their basis and their, or if it's a personal residence, their basis and their tax-free exclusion part. right up front. That's a big deal for a lot of people. Okay, here's the part I'm not really gonna spend a lot of time on here. Anybody wants to talk about this, any $1 million earners on here, you really need to talk to me about this. There's things that we can do, a self-directed IRA. I think most people understand that pretty well. Defined benefit plan is amazing. If you make $1 million, you can put $300,000 or $400,000 away, tax deferred. There's fee simple donations. This course historical preservation easement is really interesting, and other things that we can do here. And just this historical preservation easement is interesting and different. I'll touch just briefly on it. In that it's like a conservation easement, but conservation easements get audited all the time. This one is special because it's real estate, and it actually does. Well, all conservation easements are real estate, but they're generally protected land. This is a building, and it actually does produce income. Just an example, somebody has $1 million of income. Maybe you're going to owe $420,000 if you're on the 42% tax bracket. Now, if you invest $200,000 in this investment, now your tax is now only $210,000. And then you still have a nice income. So it hasn't cost you any money to get into it. You're just diverting tax money to over here. And that's because the government really wants these preserved. Okay, so that's really it for our tax minimization strategies. We have a lot that there, we really there's a lot of in-depth discussion that has to happen to decide what is the right thing for a particular client. So my goal is to be part of your team to help your clients figure out how to avoid tax and be able to get a listing for you. Now we're going to completely switch gears to the reverse mortgage side of things. And the reason this is important, because understanding reverse mortgages can increase your sales by recognizing your senior clients who might benefit from using a reverse mortgage. If you don't understand anything about reverse mortgages, you're likely to just feel like, yeah, I don't know what that is. I think, isn't that the thing where they take your house or something like that, right? But recognize it and then can show them how to overcome their perceived obstacles so they can live in the home that they really want to live in. I don't know how many times you guys probably talk to people about something they would like to do, but they don't know how they can get here. Now, remember, reverse mortgages are for seniors. There's one version I'm going to talk to you about. It's called the HECM, the FHA version. One of the borrowers has to be 62. The other one is a jumbo product, and they only have to be 55. But other ways that you can get more listings or more sales, it can help them satisfy another goal, like buying a vacation home, buying an investment property, helping a child or grandchild buy their first home. So many people would really like to do that if they had the money to do that. Okay, so here's just a quick thing about the difference between a regular forward mortgage and a reverse mortgage. Read from left to right, right? On the left, regular mortgage, there's no age restriction. On the right, there is. Has to be 62 or 55. Monthly payments are required over here. No monthly payments are required on a reverse mortgage. And that's, again, really important from a financial planning standpoint. By the way, I don't know if I mentioned, I'm the treasurer of the Silicon Valley Financial Planning Association, and I work with financial planners routinely to help them to help their clients to figure out how to extend their portfolios and increase their estate that they're going to pass on by incorporating the home equity into their overall financial plan. Okay, what happens on the left? Equity increases, but liquidity decreases. On the right, equity decreases because the loan balance is growing, but liquidity increases. The borrower owns the home in both cases. Property taxes and insurance and maintenance, it's the same no matter what. If you don't make your mortgage payment on the left, regular mortgage, they're going to take your home, right? Not on the right. If it's a reverse mortgage, you don't have to, but you can make payments if you want to. Some people are very concerned about that idea of I don't want my balance to continue to grow. You can make interest-only payments. You can even pay principal down. It's totally flexible. It's just a loan, like any other loan, except for you're flexible in how you pay it back. And that's really it. Down on the very bottom on the right there, you're able to preserve your retirement funds. And that is a big thing for a lot of people. And when I'm talking to people about the whole retirement issue, a lot of times it's that, you know, they want to try to make it to their RMDs when they have the most until they get there. Maybe they want to not start taking Social Security until later, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so what's a reverse mortgage? HECM, remember that, HECM, Home Equity Conversion Mortgage. That's the federally insured one. This has lots of elder protections built into it. I have, for you guys, I wish there were more people here in person, but if you want, I will meet you in person and I'll give you these books. You can't see them. I'll show you more about them in a minute. I don't know, I guess you can see that maybe. These books are for you, for you. Down on the bottom there, there's the proprietary reverse, just introducing the idea to you. They are a higher interest rate. They're, think around 10%, close to 10%. And the FHA versions in the 7s, kind of like a regular mortgage, unfortunately, these days. The market. If you're a real estate professional and not focused on the retirement market, you're missing out on assisting the largest demographic of people in our history that will need housing choices for many years to come, right? For many years to come is key there. In financial planning, we talk about all of the risks that, and really I shouldn't even just say financial planning, investment in the investment world in general, right? There's market risk, political risk, interest rate risk. There's one called sequence of returns risk. And the biggest one from retirement planning perspective is called longevity risk. People are living longer, and the longer we live, the longer we're going to live. And that really becomes more clear all the time as studies come along. And now with artificial intelligence and quantum computing really getting closer and closer, there is really a lot to really be hopeful for living a lot longer than you think you are. So I hope you enjoy what you're doing. So just a little bit more about the demographic. It's just going to continue. All right, 11 trillion, that's a good number to remember. That's actually an old number, but older homeowners, and who's going to be able to use these tax deferral options, right? Reverse mortgages, obviously, it's older people. The other tax deferral options for mostly it's going to be older people who have had time to build up the assets that they're going to have to try to defer the tax. So this is the market where that's going to happen. Property eligibility on the FHA side, just think any other FHA loan, because so it has to be a decent property, right? If there is, I just had one the other day. The guy had to tear down a shed in his backyard. It has to be painted. You know, I can't have a bunch of dry rot, you know, that kind of thing. Condominiums, you know, as you know, FHAs and condominiums can be difficult. The jumbo version often can pick up and do a loan in a condominium where the FHA version will not. Strategies, reverse for downsizing. So you'd think that if somebody is downsizing, they can just go pay cash for their next house. But a lot of times, and again, this comes to the financial planning work that I do often, they want to save some money because they have too much real estate and not enough other assets. As a matter of fact, I talked to a guy while I was driving here, just in that boat. He wants to increase his liquidity and protect it for his kids. So here's a little war story for you. A couple, where was it? San Anselmo, I believe. And they had a nice big house and they had 4 children. They had 2 adult children still living with them. They wanted to basically run away from them, right? They had found a house. They really wanted to buy it by Sacramento. It was in a gated community. It had a lake and a golf course, and they wanted to go buy that house. So they basically sold their house, paid a lot of tax, gave their kids a lot of money, to go buy houses, and they went and they paid cash for this house up there. And they were really enjoying it. And the next year, the husband is playing golf and dies right there on the golf course, unfortunately. Now his wife is up there, far away from her kids. The daughters really wanted her to move back. She's fine to, now it's going to go to a small house, but it's a different area, right? I mean, this can play into situations for you guys that somebody might want to sell their big house somewhere in Sacramento and get a nice little condo in San Francisco or something like that, right? So in this case, the lady bought a real nice condo in Sausalito. It was cost quite a bit more than her house in Sacramento, but she was able to do that with the reverse mortgage, and her kids are happy and she's happy. And that was a downsize. Upsizing is obvious, right? A lot of times people, just like I said, in a price perspective, they're upsizing. And a lot of times a reverse mortgage can be the answer that will solve the problem for them. Jumbos in the market we're in, you know, it was pretty high interest rate, but now here's one thing to understand is the upfront costs, and a lot of people may know this, the upfront cost on the FHA version is pretty high, but the upfront cost on the jumbo version can be very low, but the monthly cost is high. But a lot of people really choose to do that because they want the house that they want, and they often can't even qualify for the house that they want. Remember, they have to be 55. If they have enough cash to be able to qualify from a loan to value perspective for one of these, they don't have to qualify from an income perspective. Now, there is a bit of qualification, but it's quite different than qualifying for a regular loan. They just want to make sure that you're able to maintain the property and pay the tax and insurance. Here's one that works in a lot of areas, not really workable in this direct market. If you're working more in the valley or somewhere else, this can work. Here's the downside to the FHA version of this. Your house might be worth $4 million. They're only going to count currently $1,089,300. Doesn't matter if whatever your house is worth, that's the maximum value that they're going to count towards showing you how much equity you can get at. In other words, your loan balance, right? And even if it's a 4-unit property, it's still the same. It doesn't change. Unfortunately, I wish they would change that rule. But in Santa Clara, San Jose, you're not going to be able to really use this that well. But if you're working with somebody who wants to retire, they would love to live in a multi-unit property and basically have no payment and income, this is a great tool. But the price is the problem here. This happens a lot more than you might think. Kids maybe have a problem. Parents realize that they have a solution for them. And then the discussion starts. How can we solve this problem for the kids or the grandkids, right? And sometimes it actually happens the other way around. The kids are helping the parents. And you know, I had one actually pretty recently like this. The kids were not putting money away that they should. This came from the financial planning perspective. The kids were not saving their money. They talked to their financial planner. Why are you not saving your money? Why are you not maximizing your 401k? You're getting matching, but you're not taking advantage of the matching. This is a really expensive problem for you. And as well, I'm helping my mom and dad. Well, by doing a reverse mortgage for the mom and dad, they don't have to help their mom and dad anymore. And now they can put away their money in the 401k. So as Tom Selleck says, I don't know if anybody's seen the Tom Selleck commercials. I don't even know if they're on anymore. It's just a mortgage like any other. It's just how you pay it back. Here's a real key down here. Family members may obtain a short payoff of 95% of the current value of the home. In 2008, when values just went so low, a lot of reverse mortgages had balances higher than the value of the home. The kids could actually still get the short payoff, take the house if they didn't want to sell it. No debt is passed along, no matter what. They are completely non-recourse loans. I know in California, most purchase money loans are non-recourse, but people often end up in situations where they really, don't get treated like a non-recourse. And I think that's all we need to talk about there. There is this financial assessment requirement, but they just have to make sure that they can pay the tax insurance. Sometimes I have one right now where I'm having a problem because it's a paid off house, but she hasn't paid taxes and she doesn't have insurance on her house. And so that's a problem. So do you have any existing senior clients that this could help? Do you have family or friends that would benefit from not having a mortgage? Could a reverse mortgage help you in your business? Again, it's for older realtors. A lot of times, and I'll tell you, one of the reasons I asked how old people are here. Allison asked, are you a 1031 exchange specialist? Yes, I am a qualified intermediary. Thank you. Let's see, where was I? A lot of realtors find that this is a way for them to make more money, invest in more real estate, buy that second home. Again, a lot of realtors are a little bit short on cash and have more equity. They're equity rich and cash poor. So this really, when I do these presentations, often the business comes for me from the realtors themselves rather than a client. To introduce you to a couple of things here. I wish you guys, they're here. I can't give you these books, but I'm happy to meet with you individually or in some way. And I'll just leave a stack of books here and you can pick up one of these books. This book on the right, Reverse Mortgages. This is what I use. I give this book to financial planners. That book is $20 on Amazon. I buy them in bulk, so I get a discount. If you want to know a lot more about retirement planning, this book on the left, Retirement Planning Guidebook. This one, I just have one copy, but it is a really good book. This is, in my opinion, like the Bible of retirement planning. I have these books for you.
I think we have one question from the chat box.
Okay, I see it. Hi, Carrie. Is this the one? Is it possible for a borrower to outlive the equity in their home for reverse mortgage? So if home is worth $1 million and the reverse mortgage after 20 years is 1 million, can the borrower still live in the home? Yes, they can always live in the home. They can't, if I understand your question correctly, they can outlive the equity. They can't get kicked out. Put it that way. You cannot get kicked out once you have a reverse mortgage, as long as you pay the tax and keep it insured, and you maintain it. Not that they're going to come and check, but they would want you to maintain it. Other than that, you can stay in the house and live to 150. I think that is it. Did I miss anything else here? I'm going to back my chat up a little bit here. No, that was it. Thanks, Kevin, by the way. Hello. Okay, these books here, there's 3 versions of it. I have them here for you, the home buying guide, right? They're very similar, all 3 of these little books, depending on who's looking at it, the realtor, the homeowner, the home buyer, the homeowner, or the financial planner. I have a little stack of them here, and you can give these to your clients, take them with you. I will get all of them you want if you want to pass them out to a bunch more clients. And what else? Somehow or another, now I can't click it again. I'm about done, you guys. Here's something else. I'm trying to give you guys some things. Like I said, I do manage money for people. I have this software called e-money. This is kind of the gold standard, the Rolls Royce, whatever you want to call it, of financial planning software. I pay over $5,000 a year for this subscription. I will let you guys use this software at no obligation to me if you would like to. All I have to do is sign you up into it, and then you can do all kinds of planning in there. It's really amazing software. And then if you want to work with me in any way, and I'm happy to just talk to you, Remember, I get my business from realtors and financial planners. Anything I can do to help you, I'm happy to do. And it doesn't mean that I have to make money in terms of, your own asset management. But whatever you would like to do is fine. This is just another screen from that. This is a kind of a practice file. It's just super in-depth. Of course, I can't go into it now, but it's just, we can go over that as much as you want. Also, if anybody wants me to do a Social Security analysis for them, I'm happy to do it. People charge normally about $500, financial planners do. I'll do that for free. And that is really it. See if I have any more questions. Good estate planner recommendation, Kevin is asking. I actually am reviewing that. I have somebody who I was referring routinely who actually made one of my clients upset. I'm not, I got to dig into it. I got to decide if I'm going to continue to refer him or somebody else, but I do have a couple that I'm talking to. And so I'll get back to you on that, Kevin. Thanks for asking. Anything else before I hang up on you? Well, you guys, I appreciate the time you spent with me. Time is money. I know. I appreciate you spending some of your time here. I hope that it was, that you learned something. If you take away something, that you're going to be able to make some money. Give me a call if you need any help at all. Thanks, guys. How do I get out of here, Raymond? Here.